we've talked about so much already. We've talked about the different feedstuffs, we've talked about the nutrients and a whole lot, right? So I want to give you a step-by-step approach to producing feed, the steps you need to take when you are producing your poultry feed. So irrespective of the kind of feed you're producing, the very first thing you need to do is to select the kind of the feedstuffs you want to use. And I've talked to you already how to make those choices. I talked about quality, I talked about cost and availability of the material, right? So when you've considered all those things and you've chosen your feedstuff, the next thing to do, that's step 2, is that you formulate your ration, right? You formulate your ration based on the feedstuffs that you've already selected. After doing that, your ration is ready. The next thing to do is to go to your feed mill, and then when you go to your feed mill, you then have to get the feedstuffs to the feed mill, and they will grind it and mix it, right? And then your feed will be ready. All right, but if you are not taking it to feed mill, maybe you don't have feed mill around you, then the thing you could do is to actually grind it manually. Whatever way you can grind it manually, you grind it manually. Somebody asked some time ago if she could use her blender, and I said, why not? You could use your blender as long as you are not producing so much, right? And then there are repercussions to that, because your blender could get spoiled because of the too much workload, right? So if you are doing it manually, you could use any, in fact, one of the grinding devices you could use is this one they use in grinding vegetables, right? But you could actually decide to use that one. You can actually decide to use that one, and right, though it has to be, whatever grinder you're using has to be dry, so that it doesn't affect the quality of your feed. So after grinding, the next thing you need to do is to mix the feed. Now mixing feed is very important, because you grinded the different grains differently, so putting them together, it has to be done thoroughly, so that no part of the nutrient is separate from the other. The nutrients need to be together, so that when your birds are picking the feed, they are picking up the nutrients at the same time, right? For instance, if you have your carbohydrate on top and your protein under, that's a problem, because when your birds are feeding on the carbohydrates, they won't get any form of protein, because protein is not on top, and it will affect their growth rate or even their egg production if they are producing egg at that particular time. So that's why mixing is very important. So if you are grinding manually, then you have to manually mix as well, and then you have to do it thoroughly. So this is what I normally recommend. You get 2 bowls. In the first bowl you put the feed, and then you gradually measure from the first bowl to the second bowl. You keep doing that until the second bowl is full, and then you move the feed, that's you mix the feed from the second bowl again to the first bowl until the first bowl is filled again. And you have to do this gradually. You have to be putting it gradually. You wouldn't just pour it, just be touching it gradually, and you put it in the other bowl until you've done this like 5 to 10 times, and then you have your well mixed feed. So with these few steps, your feed will be ready. But just know that whatever you are doing, that ration formulation is the most important part of feed formulation, because it helps you know what and what is in the feed. It helps you know the calculation, the amount of nutrients you are putting in your feed. That's what I talked about crude protein the other time, and then even in the video concerning ration, we also looked at crude protein that we're using for that ration and the likes of it. So with this, you are good to go.